So this should be a really fun recipe for everybody. We are going to make burgers and homemade fries, but not just any burgers, not just any fries. We are going to cut the fries ourselves and bake the fries ourselves, so we're not going to fry them in a deep fryer in oil. And we're also going to make chicken burgers. And I'm going to say they're American style. Even though we don't really make chicken burgers, it's still going to be with some spices and things that I'm really familiar using in my home country. So first things first, because the potatoes will take probably 20 to 25 minutes to bake, we're going to start with those. So I have picked out some just regular old potatoes. Now, this is a lot of knife chopping, so kids, got to have a parent there with you, got to be safe. What we're going to do is we're literally just going to cut these into the shape of fries. So what I like to do with my hands as far away from the sharp part of the knife as possible, I like to take one slice off of the potato like that. And then I've got something flat and the potato can't roll around on me, and it makes it a lot safer to cut. Now you can make your fries any size that you want. I like them just a little bit thicker because they're going to bake, and that means that they won't dry out too much. I'm just going to make long, careful slices. Get my fingers out of the way. And that's how it starts. And then we can actually get the fry shape really easily by just turning it from skinny way to fat way. And then we cut our strips just like that. And we can put our fries then in a bowl where we're going to season them, put some olive oil on them, and then place them on our prepared baking tray. All right, so we've got about 4 or 5 small potatoes chopped up in here. This is enough to fit into a single sheet tray, a single cookie sheet. So that's perfect. We're gonna start with our seasoning now. We need to start with some olive oil because that's what's gonna make the fries nice and golden brown. I've never measured this before, so I'm gonna try and measure it with you guys and see if I can give you amounts. I think about a tablespoon or 15 milliliters of oil should be enough, but I'm gonna give it probably another 5, so about 20 milliliters of olive oil. We're gonna dump that in there on top of our raw potatoes. Then we're gonna start putting in some seasoning. This is paprika, excellent on fries. And I think I'm gonna put about a teaspoon in here, about 2 of these 2.5 milliliter spoons, but we'll see. So there's 1 spoonful. Actually, that might be enough. I'll just put in a teeny tiny bit more. So we're looking at like 3 milliliters total in spoon form. Now I would definitely want to put in some powdered garlic. Again, something I've never measured before, so it's like an adventure. Let's start with the 2.5 milliliter spoon and see how we're doing. We could definitely add a little bit more. I love garlicky fries though. So I've again added probably about 3.5 milliliter spoons worth of garlic. I'm also going to put in ground black pepper. I'm just going to twist until I like the look of it. And again, I really like black pepper on my fries. So I might even put in too much for you. You do it the way you want to do it. There we go. And then finally, I'm going to put in some salt. I'm not going to put in a ton of salt because I can always put salt on afterwards as well. And salt can actually make the fries not cook quite as well. So I didn't put in too much salt. I just started with that. Now we're going to take ourselves a spoon and we're going to mix, and we want all the seasonings to be on every single fry. So we're going to stir until we don't see, I usually look at the paprika because it's bright red. I'm going to stir until I don't see paprika on like a single fry, that I see a nice red color in all of the fries. And that looks pretty good. So we've mixed our fries. Now, I also preheated, while I was cutting my potatoes, I preheated my oven to about 200 degrees Celsius, and I'm using my convection setting. That means there's a fan on in my oven that's going to help things to cook more efficiently. You can absolutely cook this on conventional oven settings, but it will take a little bit longer. So I'm just making the process a little shorter. So I'm going to take my fries and I'm going to dump them on my cookie sheet that I have lined with baking paper. Now, trick to baking your own fries, you have to spread them out into a single layer. You don't want fries on top of each other. It stops them from getting crisp, and they can be soggy, which is icky. So we're gonna spread all of these out, and I think I'm bumping into my camera. We're gonna spread all of these out as much as we absolutely can. You really don't want fries on top of each other. So try to get them all to squeeze in there next to each other. Now that is mostly good. So these are gonna take anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes to cook, depending on how crispy you like them and how dried out you like them. What I recommend is after you put them in the oven, you set your timer for 10 to 15 minutes, and then you turn them with a spatula in the middle of cooking, just to make sure that they all get evenly cooked. And if it's like my oven, where it's hotter in the back than in the front, I also turn the pan around. So I'll see you guys in about 20 to 30 minutes with some excellent French fries. And now it's time for the messy part of this recipe. We're gonna make our chicken burger patties. Unlike plain ground beef, ground chicken is going to taste just a little bit different, and I like to add some spices to my chicken burgers that I might not add to ground beef burgers. That's why it's kind of American style, but kind of not. So what I have spice-wise is I've just got pepper and salt and my garlic powder, and then something called Worcestershire sauce, which is one of my absolute favorite things in the whole wide world. The other thing that you could use in a chicken burger that would taste similar is something called A1 steak sauce, but you can't buy it here in Belgium. I actually had to have my dad send it to me, so I'm going to use things that you could absolutely find in a Belgian grocery store. So here I have just under 500 grams of ground chicken that I bought at the grocery store. And I've got my spices here ready, and this is where we get to be messy. So I have washed my hands because I'm definitely going to put my hands into raw chicken, and I must wash my hands afterwards. So first things first, we're going to add our spices to our meat. I'm going to start with the garlic powder, and I'm going to begin with that same spoon that we had before. I'm going to try 1 spoonful. Again, I've never measured this before, so this is a first for me. So that's 2.5 milliliters, and you know what, we definitely need more. So I'm going to use a whole teaspoon of garlic powder, which is about a 5 milliliter spoon worth. With the black pepper, I'm going to do it again just by sight, but I guess you'd end up adding again about a teaspoon. I want lots and lots of ground black pepper flavor. And if you wonder what I keep doing, these little ground pepper mills, this has this little thing that keeps twisting back, and then it hides all the black pepper from me. It's very mean. There we go. Now I'm going to add some of my salt. Again, probably about a teaspoon, maybe even more. Because with salt, you can definitely go overboard, but it's pretty difficult. So I'm going to guess that that's about a teaspoon of salt. And then finally, this Worcestershire sauce. Now, it comes out in droplets. So usually I give it about 5 shakes. So 1, 2, well, no, that's obviously a lot more shakes than 5. What am I thinking about? Maybe 10, 15 shakes. I'm going to guess yet again about a teaspoon or about 5 milliliters of liquid. Now is when we get to be messy. We need to mix. Yes, feel the ground chicken squish between your fingers. This will be the fun part for you guys, kids. We want to get all of the seasonings and all of the spices evenly mixed into our ground meat. And ground chicken's a little bit tricky. It is a stickier meat than ground beef. So it comes off of your hands a little bit less than ground meat or ground beef. But that's okay. So once we think we have our meat totally mixed up with our spices, then we have to form it into our burger patties. And 500 grams is probably enough for 4 to 6 burgers, depending on the size. If you've already watched the brioche hamburger bun recipe, then you know that our hamburgers need to be about this big. And you have to remember that hamburgers or burger patties are always going to get smaller as they cook. So they won't be as big as the patty that you made with raw meat. So you have to keep that in mind, that you want to make them a little bit big because they're going to shrink up as you cook them. So this is finished. This is all the way done. Now, if I don't want it to stick to my fingers, that's why I have a little bowl of olive oil here. I'm never going to use this again. I'm totally wasting that olive oil, but I'm going to spread just a little bit around on my hand, and that's going to help me to grab some chicken and for it not to stick. Now, I'm going to try and divide this evenly now so that I don't have like a massive burger and then a teeny tiny burger. It looks like I'm going to get about 4 from this recipe. Let's see here. Those look about even. Nothing has to be perfect. That's the nice thing about burger patties. So now all I have to do is take my balls, chicken, and we're going to flatten them out to whatever size we choose. I'm going to do mine pretty flat, pretty thin, and fairly large because I know that they're going to get smaller. So mine are about a little bit bigger than the size of my hand. And I've prepared some cooking paper right next to me, and I can just plop my burger right on the counter. The time has come to cook our chicken burgers. Now I have heated up, as you can see from the smoke, my favorite pan, which is my heavy cast iron pan. What we're going to do is once we put our patties down in this pan, we're just going to let them sit. Otherwise, they're going to stick to the pan. They've just got to cook for a little bit to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm going to start with 2 burgers. And like I said, these look pretty big now, but trust me, they won't be so large once they cook down a little bit. And we're going to cook these burgers for a couple of minutes on each side, probably at least 3 to 4 minutes on each side. The other thing I have set off to the side is if you like cheese on your burgers, which I very much do, you can pick your favorite kind of cheese. This is what they call Abbey cheese at my local supermarket. Just a very nice plain white cheese that I enjoy very much. So we're going to let these cook for a few minutes, and then we'll be able to turn them when we're done. And just to check in on our French fries, they've been baking now for about 17, 18 minutes, and they're actually getting close to done because I've been using my convection setting. We're going to go ahead and give these a flip. And they are looking very, very nice. So these burgers are well into their way to cooking. I just wanted to kind of prove a little point. This is the original burger. That's the size it is now. You see the difference? One is a lot bigger than the other one. So in just a moment or two, these are going to be ready for their cheese. We just want to make sure that they are cooked all the way through in the middle. Some people do like to eat their beef burgers rare or medium rare, a little bit red in the middle. We cannot do that with chicken. Chicken has to be cooked all the way through. And these could even cook a little bit more on this side. Now, luckily, a burger, because it's so thin, doesn't need too terribly long to cook. So we're going to let them cook on that side, but we're also going to put our cheese on now. And I'd say that we've used about 4 to 5 minutes of cooking time. So we're going to let that cheese melt. And it could take us a couple minutes. So while we're doing that, we can be toasting our hamburger buns and checking in on our fries. Our cheese is looking pretty melted. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove these 2 burger patties. We're going to check on our fries, and then in a second, it will be time to make a burger. Now here we have our finished fries. These were baked for about 20-22 minutes, and I did turn them a few times in the oven with a spatula. I also turned the pan in my oven to make sure that they cooked evenly. I'll just kind of zoom in on my finished product here. And the last thing I'm going to do to these fries is I'm just going to sprinkle over them just a little bit more salt. Because if you remember, I didn't want to put a lot of salt on these while they were cooking. But now I can salt them properly, give them a quick turn with my spatula, very carefully because this just came out of the oven. Just toss them real quick. There we go. Oop, there we are. And these are ready to serve. All right, it's time to assemble and enjoy. So here we have our toasted brioche hamburger bun. And to this, I'm going to add any sauce I like. It's your burger, your choice. I'm going to add mayonnaise and ketchup today. Sometimes I like to add my homemade barbecue sauce, but today we're going to keep it simple. And then I have many, many delicious vegetables that I can add here. I'm going to add lettuce, tomato, and onion today. Some lettuce and a little bit more lettuce because lettuce is delicious. And then some tomato slices. And I like lots and lots of fresh onions, so I'm going to dump that on top right there. All right. Now, of course, last but not least, my chicken burger patty, which I have here. And I can put the top on him. Oh, I lost an onion. There we are. And then finally, some delicious homemade fries. And a little bit of ketchup, a little bit of mayonnaise, whatever you like on those fries. Folks, enjoy your meal.